My name is Holden Demain, and it is my honor to welcome you to the closing ceremony for the Fall 2024 class of United States Senate Pages. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and when I was told by the office of Senator John Hickenlooper that I was accepted into this program, I was ecstatic. And it lived up to the hype. The past 5 months have been the craziest time of my life. And I think that my fellow pages will agree with my characterization of this semester as an absolute madness. I hope that over the next hour or so, the parents, grandparents, siblings, and others who have come to show their support will get a glimpse into the life of a Senate page. I want to remind you that the entire program is professionally photographed and recorded, so there is no need for you to take photos. In fact, everyone should just ditch the phones. If the pages did it for 5 months, you can do it for 60 minutes. Our amazing teachers, program staff, Majority Leader Thune, Senator Hickenlooper, and my fellow pages will tell you more about what page life is. But I'm going to try to leave you with one takeaway of mine. One of Mrs. Owen's fundamental writing lessons is not to pontificate, but rather to write and speak plainly. In that vein, I'm going to try to put this as simply as I can. This Senate page program has made me optimistic about our shared future. There are a couple of reasons for this. First, I'm just impressed that we were able to do this thing. I remember walking into Webster Hall with my 4 giant bags, now increased to 5, not knowing what to expect at all. When I walked into the chandelier room, I asked Mr. Dorenzo if I should call him Josh. Little Holden didn't know the first thing about paging. We were quickly thrown into the world of memorizing senators, etymology practice, and demerits, and I almost couldn't do it. It was just too hard. But I remembered a talk Mr. Dorsey gave to us at the beginning of the program. He said, generations of pages have risen to these standards. You will too. It inspired me, and still does. We are proof that even if something seems hard work will yield success. Second, the United States Senate is still bipartisan, and it is still the greatest deliberative body in the world. While the senators are passionate about the issues, and sometimes those passions are diametrically opposed, they can come together to get things done for the American people. Watching the passage of the NDAA, or the CR in September, or the CR in December, and listening to senators read out dozens of bills that get passed by unanimous consent reassures me that bipartisanship still exists, no matter how divided we may seem. In fact, we asked Senators Britt and Booker what all the senators have in common. I mean, there are 330 million Americans, but only 100 senators. What separates them from the pack? Both senators, who are staunchly entrenched on opposite sides of the aisle, agreed that every one of the 100 shares a love of country. And finally, as a page, I felt blessed with a true American studies curriculum. It's unbelievable. We've learned about the nuclear option in the Senate and government, and then heard about it on the floor the next day, and then read about it in the newspaper. We've read William Bradford and Patrick Henry and Herman Melville learning about the stories and ideas that underlie our great nation. We've even learned about the CHIPS Act and physics. The intersection of our school and our work has been the most unique aspect of the program, reminding us that the United States isn't perfect, but we should love our country enough to be willing to work for a change. All of us who came here were kids interested in politics, this art of power that shapes so many lives. And if I was cynical coming here, I leave with a renewed hope. I'm hopeful that even though we will face challenges, the pages of today and the leaders of tomorrow will be able to answer the call with courage, compassion, and patriotism. I'm grateful for everything this program has given me. It has given me lessons in discipline, friendship, and leadership. It has given me the opportunity to assist with the certification of the Electoral College ballots and honor President Carter at his lying in state. It gave me a legitimate reason to wear a suit and tie at 5 a.m. It gave me late nights in the rotunda, Friday night El Fegne pilgrimages, and visits to the speaker's balcony. Most importantly, it gave me each of you. I'm so proud to have been president of this special class. I've loved getting to know each and every one of you, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the future. Now, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance is your Student Council Secretary and Treasurer and the appointed page of Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, Sharmali Karthik.
Please stand as able and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. This program is truly a roller coaster. Whether you wake up ready to tackle the day ahead, or you wake up groggy, which is probably more likely, there was always a powerful, stentorian voice that served as a constant. Chaplain Barry Black has played this role for Pages since June 27th, 2003. He is a staple not only for our class, but of the Page program in general. He has served in the U.S. Navy for over 27 years, and he ended his time there as Chief of Navy Chaplains. We thank him for his service and doing what he does every single morning. Without further ado, Chaplain Barry Black.
I now know whom I desire to do my eulogy. Thank you very much. Well done. Let us pray. Eternal Lord God, who alone spreads out the heavens and rules the raging of the sea, bless this wonderful fall Page class of 2024. May these young people grow in reverential awe for you, so that they will give you permission to guide them on the path you have chosen. Renew their strength, so that they shall mount up with wings like eagles, running without weariness and walking without fainting. In the days to come, make them poor in misfortune and rich in blessings. Give them enough challenges to keep them humble, enough hurt to keep them humane, enough failure to keep their hands clenched tightly in yours, and enough success to make them certain they are walking with you. Lord, lead them into their future, fueled by faith, focus, and fortitude. We pray in your sovereign name. Amen.
Now, I am so honored to introduce my sponsor, Senator John W. Hickenlooper of Colorado. Trained as a geologist, he began his career in that most political of pursuits, craft beer. Senator Hickenlooper opened the Wine Coop Brewing Company in 1988, revitalizing the lower downtown Lodo neighborhood in Denver and establishing himself as a community leader. In 2003, he was elected mayor of Denver. He used his skills as an entrepreneur to be an effective mayor, providing quality early education for every 4-year-old, initiating the most significant police reforms in the city's history, and opening one of the first sustainability offices in the nation. From 2011 to 2019, Senator Hickenlooper served as governor of Colorado. As governor, he turned a state reeling from the Great Recession into the #1 economy in the country. He expanded healthcare, established climate pollution laws, and enacted common-sense gun safety measures. Senator Hickenlooper has served in the Senate since 2021. He takes great pride in representing the people of Colorado, and likewise, I take pride in being his appointee. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. It has been life-changing. Please join me in welcoming Senator John Hickenlooper.
I can only wish that every appointment I've made and everyone I've worked with had half the character and half the drive of Holden. He is someone to make Colorado proud. This is a great event. It's one of my favorite events every year. These kids have sacrificed so much. They've given up on their homes, their schools, their family, their friends, their sleep, most remarkably, their cell phones. And it takes me back when I first ran for mayor, and I just stated 2 or 3% of the polls. This was in 2003. And I had young volunteers, eager, like these young people, but a little frustrated. And I saw this clipping in the newspaper, and I took it into the next staff meeting we had. And it was from it was a very brief story about a public speaking professor at the University of Wyoming, a few hours north of Denver. And the story was about how she was talking about the importance of using opposites when you want to create emotion. If you talk about the worst time, talk about the best of times. If you talk about the agony, talk about the ecstasy. She asked her class, what's the opposite of despair? And a kid raised their head and said, joy? She goes, exactly. You want people to feel despair? Use joy in the same sense. Then she said, what's the opposite of woe? A kid way in the back goes, giddy up. And I think that's what these guys have learned. And I kind of follow them along in their process. And they've seen partisan gridlock, and they've seen us at loggerheads, but they've also seen up close cross-party partnerships and friendships. You know, my wife and I we were infected with COVID in 2020. We were at a cousin's place up in central New Hampshire, and Republican Mitt Romney was closing up his summer house. He used to be the governor of Massachusetts, so he texted and said, we've closed up our house, it's all clean. If you need 9 days to isolate before you drive all the way back to D.C., you should really come use our house. And we showed up there, and he'd gone out and bought a week's provisions. He bought the eggs and bacon because we were infected. We couldn't go into a store. That's the kind of stuff you don't read about in the newspapers, but that these guys get to see. They've also seen the peaceful transfer of presidential power. And I think you look at the relationships they've seen, that transfer, the times when things do work out and we reach difficult compromises, that is the answer to partisan gridlock. I know that the hours have been long. I know that there were some weekends involved, more than a few. But I hope that sense of optimism and you know that if you work hard and you're kind and you don't give up, good things can happen. I think it's up to all of us to take your essential elements that you've honed here over these last months and put them to use ourselves. Now you get to go back to your home environments, your natural ecosystem, and begin to do the change there. So thank you for your service to your country so far. I look forward to your service going future. Giddy up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Serena Palin. I'm from Sparks, Maryland, and I'm Senator Van Hollen's sponsored page. This past semester, I've had the honor of serving as vice president of our page class. Recently, we held a closing ceremony speech contest where pages wrote and presented an original speech to our school faculty. Among all the wonderful speakers, Camille Certain emerged as the winner, and I couldn't be more thrilled to tell you about her. Over these past 5 months, I've had the privilege of getting to know Camille, not just as a shift mate, but as a true friend. She has this remarkable ability to lift others up, whether on our toughest days or our best. While many of us were still finding our footing on the Senate floor, Camille was already setting the bar high with her exceptional work ethic, both in school and in her page duties. What strikes me most about Camille is how she's developed over these last 5 months while staying true to herself. Her confidence has grown, but her infectious sense of humor and deep love for Montana remain unchanged. I'll never forget one particularly exhausting day when both work and school had taken their toll. As fatigue began to overcome me on the rostrum, Camille looked me in the eyes and said simply, "I'm here for you, Serena." That moment captures her essence perfectly. Her unwavering support, her persistent optimism, and yes, her knack for keeping me awake during our longest shifts. In Camille, we have someone who embodies the very best of our page class: dedication, growth, and genuine care for others.
Great blue sky, Montana. It's got wide mountain ranges, landscapes to wander endlessly that are filled with wildlife and solitude. It's cowboy country. So when you go from my home state to Washington, D.C., it is a surprise. D.C. is a city made up of strict geometric architecture, an exciting history, and masses of people working like clockwork. To me, the Senate Page program, with its strict structure, rich history, and endless opportunities, reflects the bustling city it resides in. Being a page offers a unique experience that is nearly impossible to find anywhere else. So we're often asked, what exactly do you do? All of us pages here have a few main points we usually touch on when asked. Waking up at 5 a.m. is an obvious one, along with the rigorous schoolwork, lack of access to our cell phones, and late nights of working in the Senate. But when we all reflect back on this program, we will remember more than just the bullet points. There will never be another time in our lives that every hour of our day is meticulously planned by other people to maximize our time and productivity to succeed. We can thank the beehive of staff that work endlessly to give us this experience. Our directors, Ms. Roach and Mr. Dorenzo, have worked tirelessly behind the scenes, and their work is obvious in every aspect of the program. Our proctors welcomed us here and made sure the entirety of Webster Hall operated smoothly. By organizing our residential field trips, they gave us some of our best memories and opportunities to bond with other pages. The first day we arrived at work, our supervisors had 1 week to show a group of random teenagers how to work with United States senators on the Senate floor. We can credit those supervisors, Tiffany and Charlotte, for making sure that we understood how to perform a long list of tasks every day to the best of our ability. Since we came from completely different styles of learning at our home schools, the Page School was a shock to many of us. The first few weeks of overwhelming homework and expectations were vastly different from the rural high school I was used to. The hours that our teachers put in before and after school to ensure students like me could make it to this ceremony successfully and thrive under the pressure of the program was both a surprise and one of the greatest parts of our classes here. Thank you to our teachers and Principal Dorsey. At some point, we may have flunked a vocabulary test or got weak sauced. Maybe we didn't know how to do a physics problem or simply got overwhelmed. But no matter the challenges we faced, there was an army of people we could turn to help us reach our goals, especially our fellow pages. Whether or not our daily work ended up being what we expected, we can't deny the once-in-a-lifetime experience of joining the congressional staff as a 16-year-old. From our daily work in the U.S. Capitol, to having lunch with senators, to finally having our closing ceremony, we will all take this experience back home with us. For me, seeing the impact of Montana history, like how Jeanette Rankin was the first woman to walk the halls of the Capitol as a member of Congress, or witnessing Leader Mike Mansfield's legacy, or even having the privilege of hearing my sponsoring senator, John Tester's farewell address. Recognizing that a rich history of people came from my home, and the lasting legacy a state with more cows than people can leave, has greatly inspired me. Like Montana's influence on the U.S., the PAGE program will influence us as we go back to our home states. I am so proud to be part of this program with each of you, and I will cherish this time as I go back to Montana. This January, its small population will grow by one teenager returning to high school and one public servant returning to his farm. I hope that all of us can feel a sense of accomplishment for what we've done here and can go home with the confidence that we are ready to use what we have learned in the years ahead. Thank you.
Now, I am honored to introduce someone whom we've all heard speak many times, first as Senate Republican Whip and now as Senate Majority Leader. This is someone who is a born and bred South Dakotan, someone who is universally respected in the Senate, and someone who is a model for all of us of what a statesman should be. That man is Leader John Thune. Leader Thune first became interested in politics when he made 5 of 6 free throws in a high school basketball game. In my storied basketball career, I would probably be satisfied with 2 for 6, but some people were not. Following the game, Leader Thune was approached by South Dakota Representative Jim Abner, who said, "I notice you missed one." It was the start of a friendship that would lead him into his career of public service. Under President Reagan, Leader Thune worked for the Small Business Administration and then became the executive director of the South Dakota Republican Party. He became South Dakota's sole member of the U.S. House of Representatives in 1996 and became a senator in 2004. In doing so, Senator Thune achieved the historic feat of defeating a sitting party leader for the first time in over half a century. Senator Thune serves on the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee, the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, and the Finance Committee. He and his wife, Kimberly, live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Senator Thune's appointed page is Danielle "Danny" Totes. Danny is kind, energetic, and passionate, and she represents Senator Thune very well in the U.S. Senate page program. Please join me in welcoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune.
Thanks, Holden. That was really nice. And Danielle, thank you for repping South Dakota so well, and all of the pages who are here this morning. Good morning and congratulations. I say to all of you, you've completed your time as a page in the United States Senate. What a time it has been. Think about everything you've seen. You've seen bills passed that ultimately became law. You saw a presidential election. You saw a president lying in state. You helped certify the electoral vote. Saw the swearing in of a new president and vice president, the beginnings of the cabinet process. And here in the home stretch, you had to learn the names and faces of 14 new senators during final exams, right? So thank you for your service to the United States Senate and to our country. We are truly grateful for it, and I think it's safe to say that the Senate couldn't run without your help, and I mean that. And to the parents who are here today with us, thank you for raising young men and women who are hardworking, eager to learn, and willing to serve. Now, it might surprise some of you to know that your high schoolers have been getting up at 5 a.m. For the last few months. On a typical day, they're ready at 5:30 in class by 6:15, reporting for duty before 10 a.m., and sometimes working until late at night, and squeezing in some homework between shifts on the Senate floor. You've all had a lot of responsibilities, and amid all those responsibilities, you've had a front row seat to history. You've seen some of the moments, the big and the small, that chart the course of our country's future. And you can see some of that on C-SPAN or on the news, but you have seen what the cameras don't see. You have been a part of the process. And now you're returning home, back home to school, sports, family, friends, college applications, in other words, back to real life. And it might seem like the big moments are all happening somewhere else, like other people in other places are the only ones who can do something big. But that's not true. There was a book written a couple of decades ago by a guy named Rick Warren called The Purpose-Driven Life. And the first line in that book is, "It's not about you." And I think if you approach life that way and think that it's not about you and what you can do to be difference makers in the lives of other people, you're going to be a lot more fulfilled in life, and you're going to be a difference maker. And so as you approach whatever that next step is, sometimes you may have to search a little harder for those opportunities, but they are out there everywhere. And I want to encourage you all to seek them out, and don't be afraid to start something. We need people in every community to do great things. You've had an experience that few people get, an exclusive education, if you will. Take what you've learned here and put it into action. And sometimes that's a simple thing. In my part of the country, you can make a difference in your neighborhood. You have an elderly person just shoveling out the sidewalk or helping them with their yard work. Things that you can see on an everyday basis, or helping out a fellow student, a friend, or a sibling that had a hard day at school. There are so many ways in which you can be a difference maker and look for opportunities to serve the people around you. And so I want to encourage you to seek them out. I want to thank you for your service to the United States Senate and to our country during these past few months, and whatever you end up doing next. I just hope that you will continue to be difference makers. Thank you, and God bless you all. Good to be with you.
Hi, everyone. It's Senator Chuck Schumer. And to all of our amazing pages, to everyone who worked so hard this fall to complete this one-of-a-kind program, congratulations. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, but I cannot thank you all enough for your hard work in bringing the Senate to life. And of course, especially to our great pages from New York, you made us very proud. Serving as a page is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see the legislative process in action close up, and to meet so many people from all over America of different backgrounds and viewpoints and everything else. And during your semester, you not only saw it all, you were a part of it. It was a unique time in the Senate because of the election, but you helped us tackle several issues facing our country, like confirming a record number of judges to the federal bench, providing disaster relief to communities in need, and keeping the government open. It was an honor to have you with us. I hope you carry this experience with you as you return home and move on to your next adventures. But no matter where the road takes you, please know you'll always have a home here in the Senate, and nothing can ever take away from the incredible work you've done over the past few months. So good luck, my very best, Godspeed, and thank you.
I noticed that Senator Merkley has joined us, and even though we only have access to this space for a limited amount of time, I want to thank you for stopping in and give you a chance to congratulate the group if you'd like.
Well, greetings, everyone, and to the proud parents who are here. Your children have had this extraordinary opportunity to be part of the U.S. Senate. And I must say, for the balance of your lives, when a conversation comes up and you said, you know, I had a chance to be in D.C., I was a Senate page. And people are going to say, really? How did you get to do that? Because you're of a very small number that get to be involved in this particular way so young in your life as you're thinking about what you do in the future. Now, we have a lot of interns. I was a Senate intern for Senator Hatfield, and I was 19 years old, and I came here and I went, wow, this is incredible. But right now, there are over 1,000 interns. While you've been serving as pages, there's only, roughly 24 of you all plus. And so that honor comes also with great insight. You've got a sense of how rapidly the world is changing, and you have the opportunity to think about, can a deliberative legislative body take on these rapidly changing issues? You've seen the different perspectives that folks bring from their own states and how those different perspectives drive how they emphasize different policies. You had the opportunity to think about, does this policy decrease the risk of war? Does this policy make the environment more healthy? Does this policy serve the four foundations for thriving families of healthcare, housing, education, and a good paying job? Those are frames of reference you will carry with you the rest of your life. So congratulations on getting to undertake this particular honor, but more importantly, the opportunity to think about how a good policy will help millions and a bad policy will hurt millions, and that you have the chance to bring your perspectives on how to favor what is a good policy and what isn't. Congratulations.
I also noticed that Senator Lee has joined us, and even though we only have access to this space for a limited amount of time, I wanted to thank you for stopping in and offer you a chance to congratulate the group, if you'd like.
It seems you've learned something about the nature of U.S. senators while working here. When you invite a U.S. Senator to speak, sometimes it's not known in advance how soon he or she will stop, but I promise to be brief. Look, I'll never forget the moment when, in late 2010, just after I'd been elected to the U.S. Senate, I was ushered into the Senate chamber, and I was about to receive the beginning of my freshman orientation as a senator. We were invited to take a seat behind one of the desks in the Senate chamber. It didn't matter which one. I was reluctant to do so. I couldn't figure out why. And then I remembered, back in 1987, when I had been a page, we were told never, ever, ever sit in the senator's chair. All of my new colleagues were eagerly taking a seat, and even after I figured this out, I realized I do have an election certificate now. I'm about to be sworn in. It still didn't feel right. And just then, Laura Dove, who was then the assistant secretary to the minority when I was, by the time I was sworn in, had been my page supervisor in 1987. And as I approached her, she looked at me and said, "I promise I haven't been here the whole time. I did go away. I got an education. I've had kids. But yeah, I've mostly worked here." This is the kind of place that stays with you, as will the friendships that you have made while you're here. And along the way, you might have even picked up an idea or two about what you might do for a living. Now, if you want to be a United States Senator, you may well end up here. And God bless you. God help you if you do. But regardless of what you do, the things that you've learned here, like the friendships you've made here, will benefit you to a tremendous degree for the rest of your life. Among many other things, it will affect your speech patterns, the way in which you interact with others, your public discourse. Something that was imprinted indelibly on my mind as a 16-year-old page was the fact that the very best debaters on the Senate floor are those who don't forget the cultural niceties of the Senate floor, referring to an opponent, even when, especially when, you strongly disagree with him or her. Refer to that person as my distinguished friend and colleague, the senator from such and such a state. That kind of thing, even though I'd advise against using the word senator if you're not in the Senate or referring to a senator, but you get the idea. Regardless of what walk of life you might enter into, what you might do for a living. The casual observances, but the consistent reminders of collegiality and of the dignity of this place will stick with you, and hopefully to your benefit and that of those around you. Thank you very much, and thank you all for your service.
The Senate Page program is built on 3 fundamental pillars: school, work, and residence life, each demanding and requiring tremendous effort to balance. While all 3 components shaped us, our time at Page School proved especially transformative, instilling values of diligence, time management, and an unwavering work ethic. Mrs. Owen's challenging etymology assignments may have intimidated us those first weeks, but she quickly became one of our strongest supporters and mentors. Mr. Farrell brought history and government to life in his classroom, helping us better understand the very institution where we worked. And his constant reminders to stay hydrated became our daily mantra. Ms. Glein's wonderful sense of humor lightened even our most stressful days, making her classroom a place where learning and laughter went hand in hand. And then there's Dr. Johnson. Whether we were struggling with a complex concept or needed guidance about life beyond the science classroom, her door was always open. Please join me in welcoming instructors from the Page School.
Good morning. I'm Mrs. Owens, otherwise known as the etymology teacher. I recently read that in ancient Rome, a rich man might have a library of over 1,000 scrolls. In other words, he owned 1,000 books. Pliny the Elder was so voracious for knowledge that he had an assistant walk around behind him, reading out loud from his scrolls all day, reading to Pliny as he ate, as he lay in the sun, as he was rubbed down after his bath. Text after text after text, so that Pliny didn't waste a minute and could learn as much as possible. I immediately thought how much our pages could have benefited from such an assistant. After all, we asked them to learn a tremendous amount of material while simultaneously working an 8-hour day and living in a community without parents to feed them or do their laundry. If you thought they were exaggerating in those desperate phone calls, I'd like you to consider the English assignment sheet for one day. This is the assignment sheet in English. This is what pages were doing on Thursday, October 3rd. English composition students were learning to use subordinate constructions to make their writing more concise and show the relationship of ideas in sentences. They had just turned in their first rough draft of an essay that they would get back with copious comments and which they would go on to revise 2 more times. American literature students were assigned to read a 1-page biography of Cotton Mather and his first-hand account of a trial of a supposed witch in Salem in 1692. That was for the next day. They had 12 days to watch the play The Crucible. But before that, they had to read a brief account of the McCarthy era, which inspired Arthur Miller to write the play. And they had a week to read Margaret Chase Smith's Declaration of Conscience, her speech to the Senate attacking McCarthyism. By October 18th, the American literature students were to listen to a Native American myth and complete a study of the representation of Native Americans in the art in the capital. Everyone, both comp and lit, everyone was studying for a vocabulary quiz the next Monday. We have one every Monday. And completing a week-long research assignment into words based on the Latin roots for parts of the body. They had already read an account, rather shocking one, of the history of inoculation, which is one of those body words. And they were now going to read how George Washington had to decide whether or not to vaccinate his troops against smallpox. We're not finished. In anticipation of our tour of the Senate chambers the next Monday, all pages had already researched the meaning and origins of the inscriptions on the Senate chamber walls, and they would turn that assignment in the next day, Friday. By Monday, they also needed to read about the spittoons, the snuff boxes, and the sanders that sit on the senators' desks. Also due the next day was an assignment they'd completed over the previous week on the different types of classical columns in the Capitol. And that was just English. Remarkably, they managed all of this. And in the course of it, they learned as much about themselves as they did about English and the Capitol. Today, I would like to recognize one page who handled all of this with remarkable aplomb, with an equanimity that's unusual for a 16-year-old, who excelled in all areas of her English course, and who demonstrated just how broad and deep her learning was by earning a perfect score on a very difficult final exam, all without an assistant walking behind her. I'm pleased to present the award for excellence in English to Eleanor Carey.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Glines. I'm the math instructor at the Page School. And this morning I'd like to acknowledge 2 individuals for their achievement in mathematics. I'll share a little bit about both of them, and then we'll invite them up together at the end. One of the qualities that makes Holden Demain an exceptional problem solver is his curiosity. He enters into the process with the mentality that there is a fun puzzle to be solved and he expresses joy when he realizes that two seemingly unrelated ideas prove to be not only connected, but connected in a way that opens the door to entirely new problem-solving strategies. I want to emphasize that curiosity is not simply innate. We also all make a choice to be curious. Holden is not a passive learner. He actively chooses to be curious and engaged. He complements his inquisitiveness with practice, during which he attends to detail and asks more questions. He does not give up on problems, but rather persists, even over the course of days, until he figures something out. Eleonora Carey is also an exceptional problem solver. She exhibits a willingness to just dive in, learn from mistakes, and practice. Excellence is only achieved with practice. Eleonora is an independent learner. She's been working through her homeschool trigonometry course on her own, only periodically asking questions that make even me pause to think. Her written solutions to problems are of such high quality that they can be used as teaching tools. And before you leave today, Pages, I encourage you to take a moment to thank Eleonora for her generosity of spirit and teamwork. In class, during work breaks, and late at night in the residence, I know Eleonora answered your questions and helped many of you learn mathematics. She is a patient teacher whose understanding of the material is deepened as she challenges herself to explain it to others. I'm pleased to present this semester's awards for excellence in mathematics to Holden Demain and Eleonora Carey.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Johnson. I teach chemistry and physics at the Page School. One of my very favorite things about science is no matter what the discipline, there are these through lines that appear, patterns that hold true regardless of if you are studying a plant cell, a water molecule, or a moving vehicle. I particularly love the interplay between change and constancy. Scientists are always on the lookout for how materials change while simultaneously being held to laws that require some kind of stability. In chemistry this semester, we imagine the dance of water molecules elegantly slowing as the temperature drops, all while knowing the bonds within the structure are unchanged by the environment around them. In ionic reactions, we describe the swapping of dance partners to form new substances, all while knowing the mass of the system must remain the same. In physics, we saw the explosive charge of a spring sending a cart in motion as the energy changed from potential to kinetic, all while knowing that the total energy available to the cart remained constant. We saw objects brought to a stop by the presence of a new force, all while knowing the momentum of the system remained unchanged. The delicate balance of change and constancy happened to you too. While here, you each changed and grew, developed new habits. Hopefully you'll keep some of them, adjusting as you needed to the environment around you. You also stood firm in who you are. Congratulations on achieving that equilibrium in your time here. Well, all of you have efforts to be proud of. 2 students stood out in the science classroom for their work this semester. They each showed up every day with consistent effort, positive attitudes, and a willingness to push themselves without excuses, never wavering from attention to detail, and a mindset that they could do what was asked of them. For excellence in chemistry, I am pleased to recognize Eleonora Carey. And for excellence in physics, I am pleased to recognize Lucy Simmons.
Good morning. I'm Mark Farrell. I'm the social studies teacher at the Senate Page School. The author of the Constitution, or an author of the Constitution, James Madison, wrote, "A popular government without popular information or the means of acquiring it is but a prologue to a farce or a tragedy, or perhaps both. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and a people meant to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives." Social studies courses like the ones I teach, U.S. history and U.S. government, aim to do just that, to help students arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives, through gaining an understanding of the processes by which a just government has been and is shaped, and how complex this has been and is. To all the pages, thank you for your curiosity, your enthusiasm, and your willingness to engage with the complexity of our nation's history. Over the course of this semester, the recipient of the Social Studies Award has shown a genuine curiosity about the broad themes and concepts of the class and demonstrated the ability to contextualize, to analyze, make arguments based on historical evidence, and critically assess the points of view of many, many, many different authors and writers. But maybe most importantly, this page has consistently and willingly shown a thoughtful, open approach to learning and improving. I'd like to recognize Noah Snyder with the Social Studies Award for Excellence for Fall 2024.
Now, please welcome the Senate Party Secretaries, Majority Secretary Robert Duncan and Democratic Secretary Gary Myrick. The secretaries assist leadership in scheduling floor activities, advise senators on the progress of a bill, and oversee all of the incredible cloakroom staff. For almost all of us, this was our first real job in a real city with real suits. It was a bit of a transition, to say the least, and we're so thankful to the cloakrooms for their guidance in helping us manage our responsibilities in the Senate. We will also hear from Ms. Roach and Mr. Dorsey, the executive director of the Page program and the principal of the Senate Page School, respectively. Ms. Roach, along with Mr. Dorenzo, Ms. Sukup, and the entire program staff, do so much for us. Their generous distribution of demerits has helped keep us in line and on top of things. They've planned some amazing field trips for us, including, but not limited to, a Nationals game, a trip to Hershey Park, and a trip to Philadelphia. Ms. Roach has so much experience with the Pages, and it shows in her impeccable job keeping the program running smoothly. Just as critical, I could not imagine my Page experience without Mr. Dorsey. Morning meetings with him standing in front of the library speaking to the Pages had a very comforting feeling to them at 6:15 in the morning. Mr. Dorsey was always a resource for us to ask questions about school, work, or general guidance. The hard work of Mr. Dorsey and all of our dedicated teachers motivated us to do the same and treat our studies with the respect they deserve. Now, please welcome the party secretaries.
Hi, I'm Chris Tuck. I'm filling in for Robert Duncan. I'm the assistant secretary. I'm not sure I want to stick around long enough to be the secretary. It doesn't seem too fun. But it was I was actually a Page myself back in the summer of 2001, which actually hurts to say out loud now. But it was my first suit as well. And I want to say that the semester pages are what we refer to as the real pages. The summer kids get to come and do it for about 6 weeks and get the experience, but we have all the respect in the world for you And thank you for what you do, waking up at 5 a.m., making sure everything runs smoothly on the floor. You're an absolutely integral part to the institution. And we hope you stay in touch. We hope you forged great friendships and inspired you with your work every day. So thank you all very much.
I'm Gary Myrick. I'm the Democratic Secretary. I've been doing these page graduations for a long time, and I'm reminded every time how thankful I am that I don't have to face those teachers at 6:15 in the morning, and reminded that you guys do, and it's an amazing process. One thing I'd like to say is the one thing that I remember from law school when I went there was my favorite teacher saying he would never be part of an institution that didn't have checks and balances. And I hope all of you have seen that over the last few months. Sometimes I'm the check, sometimes I'm the balance, and Tuck and Duncan do the other part. And I hope you've seen us do that in a respectful, friendly way over the last couple of years. Take that with you when you go back home, okay? Understand that everything needs to be checked, and there's a balance for everything. So thanks for your time. Thanks for everything.
Mia and sorry.
Eleanor Carey. Camille Sertain. Holden Demain. Camila Enriquez. Hayden Hartman. Vibhub Javali. Surya Kulhan. Ramuli Arthur.
J.C. Morgenstern, Jr.
Rashmi Khanna. Kaya Lanunan. Serena Pollen. Gabriel Rhodes. Noah Snyder. Megan Waters.
Good morning. One of my favorite responsibilities is conducting Pages exit interviews. Over the past week, Josh Dorenzo and I enjoyed listening to the Pages share how much they have grown, changed, and matured this semester. They learned professionalism in the workplace while succeeding as students in managing their lives in their new home away from home. They identified life skills that they developed, including time management and the ability to work and live with people from different backgrounds. Others shared that they developed confidence, a sense of belonging, and the understanding that things aren't always as scary as they seem in the beginning. Each semester, the Citizenship Award is presented to a Page who embraced the structure of the program, exceeded the established expectations, supported peers and supervisors, and demonstrated respect for all. This semester, 2 Pages are receiving the Citizenship Award. These Pages stood out for their dedication, kindness, and consideration for others. They often went above and beyond without seeking recognition or acknowledgement. They were exceptionally conscientious and respectful, and they met or exceeded expectations in each area of the program: work, school, and residence. The Citizenship Award is presented to Robbie Meyer and J.C. Morgenstern. There are many individuals whose contributions make it possible for students to participate in the Senate Page program and adjust to working full-time for the United States Senate while attending school and living away from home for almost 5 months. I have the pleasure this morning of acknowledging and thanking them for their contributions to the success and well-being of Pages this semester. Sergeant at Arms Jennifer Hemingway, Secretary of the Senate Jackie Barber, Secretary for the Majority Robert Duncan, and Secretary for the Minority Gary Myrick. They are members of the Page Board, which is responsible for the oversight of the program, and we truly appreciate the support they provide. Others who provided oversight guidance and support this semester include former Sergeant at Arms Karen Gibson, former Secretary of the Senate Ann Berry, former Deputy Sergeant at Arms Kelly Fado, and Assistant Secretary for the Senate Robert Paxton. We are grateful for their guidance and advocacy of the Page program this semester. Charlotte Euland from the Republican cloakroom and Tiffany Flores from the Democratic cloakroom. They're standing right in the back there. They provided countless hours of training, direction, and supervision of the Pages while they were at work. They taught the Pages to do their jobs, and just as importantly, they taught them to be confident and capable young professionals in one of the most high-profile workplaces. I know that the Pages generally appreciate the time and effort that all cloakroom staff members invested in them, as well as the knowledge that they shared with them. Amber Hoos and Noelle Ringel from the party secretary's offices provided support and oversight while Pages were in the Capitol. Kristen Welch-Simpson is the executive director of the Employee Assistance Program. She and her talented team provided individual counseling as well as group seminars on stress and nutrition. We appreciate EAP's exceptional services and the priority they placed on supporting our Pages. The doctors and nurses at the Office of Attending Physician and the Heart Health Unit provided excellent care for our Pages throughout their various illnesses and injuries. A special thank you to Dr. Nelson for his care and communication. U.S. Capitol Police provided security for the Pages at the Capitol, in the Senate office buildings, and at Webster Hall. We thank them for their service and for keeping all of us safe. Paula Kyle offered yoga each Friday, helping Pages relax at the end of the school and work week. The Page School faculty have already been introduced, but I would like to again acknowledge and thank them for the outstanding education they provide to Pages. Pages have expressed how fortunate they feel to have had an opportunity to learn from such gifted and caring educators. Rarely a day goes by that I don't talk, email, or text with Principal Josh Dorsey. I thank him for his collaboration and communication, which are often accompanied by his understated and dry sense of humor, which I very much appreciate. Thank you to the Webster Hall team who provided Pages with supervision, encouragement, and direction, and who provide the high level of commitment and organization that makes our department run so smoothly. Page Program Deputy Director Joshua Dorenzo co-managed, established, and upheld expectations and provided exceptional leadership from day one. Executive Assistant Amy Suka was likely the first person from the program that many of you spoke with or corresponded with. She is gifted at reassuring anxious parents and patiently answering questions, and her organization and orderliness skills are unmatched. Almost any time that a Page was not in school or at work, they were the responsibility of a proctor. Proctors supervise Pages at Webster Hall, and when they are accountable for Pages when they are checked out for free time in DC. Lead proctor, Andrena Santamaria, proctors Shantess Robinson, Caitlin Spiegel, Lynn Melhouse, and Julia Schettenhelm provided support, correction, meals, first aid, and the occasional trip to the emergency room. They also planned and supervised numerous field trips to ensure that Pages experienced arts, sports, and culture, and hopefully developed an appreciation for all that Washington, D.C. and the surrounding area have to offer. I am incredibly thankful for this team and appreciative of all that they do. There are numerous other Senate staff members who provided daily support, encouragement, and kindness to Pages. While I can't name them all, I thank them for contributing positively to the Pages experience. I would like, for those that I did mention, to either step into the room or just rise for a moment so people can recognize you and see how many people it really takes to make this program run. Thank you. On behalf of the United States Senate, thank you, parents and guardians, for entrusting your children to us this semester. We return them to you, accomplished young adults. And finally, I extend a sincere thank you to our Pages for your service this semester. I hope that you are as proud of yourselves as we are of you. Thank you.
Morning. I am also going to recognize the specific achievements of only a few students. However, I would be remiss if I didn't comment on this class as a whole. As has already been shared, being a page can be quite a challenge. The early mornings, the late evenings, the Saturday field trip where you really needed a 2-day weekend, the day when your alarm didn't go off, which is still a problem this week. You didn't have a clean suit at the ready, you bombed a math test, you set up a lectern on the wrong senator's desk, you forgot until early in the afternoon that you were, in fact, on late shift. It's important to me then to publicly say to this group that your effort, your persistence, your commitment to excellence has been noticed and is appreciated. As I mentioned to pages at orientation, you will be treated fairly, but this is not a fair program. For many of you, the academic expectations of the Page School have been comparable to what you experienced at home. For others, you had to make dramatic adjustments to be successful. And in many cases, the challenges you faced undoubtedly felt insurmountable. And I want you to know that I see you, that we see you, and that we share in the special sense of pride you should have in meeting the moment head on. We asked for your best, and more often than not, you gave it. Job well done. I also want to recognize that the peaks and valleys of the last 5 months aren't confined to academics. Some of you were immensely homesick. Some of you were hospitalized. I'd be hard-pressed to name a page who didn't at some point go to the heart health unit, the employee assistance program, or more commonly both. For some of you, the war in Ukraine and the conflict in the Middle East or the wildfires in California had personal implications. Some of you lost close family members this semester. And I don't want to dwell on these difficulties, but instead I specifically wanted to congratulate those of you who faced adversity not directly related to being a page. You often did so with more maturity and poise than many adults I know, and I'm proud of you. That being said, I do have 2 additional awards to present on behalf of the school, neither of which will go to Eleanor or Carrie. The Harvard Prize Book Award has been in existence since 1910 and is given each semester to a page that has demonstrated academic excellence and strength of character, provided by the Harvard Club of Washington, D.C. It's worth noting the president of the Harvard Club of Washington, D.C. is a former Senate page. The representative from this class has been unwavering in their curiosity in the classroom, on field trips in and around D.C., and on the Senate floor. They listen more than they speak. They read carefully for understanding. They are deliberate and methodical in how they attack a problem. They lead by example and embody the characteristics we look for in leaders, in scholars, in young people, and in pages. I am pleased to present this award to Kaya Lainanen. Congratulations. Table's almost empty. Finally, the Principal's Award goes to an individual who has typified resilience, integrity, and sincerity. This page has grown as both a student and a person, and really embodies what the PAGE program is all about. Being presented with a legitimate challenge, believing in yourself, relying on your support systems, and rising to the occasion. The Principal's Award goes to Tegan Langland. I want to reiterate the gratitude that has already been expressed by many of our speakers and add some of my own. I want to thank our Spanish language tutor, Senor Contreras, who is here today. I want to thank the Congressional Award Foundation for their continued support for our program, and to the Capital Alumni Association for all that they do for Page's past, present, and future. Pages, please consider joining the Alumni Association. I too want to thank the proctors, who successfully maintain a high level of decorum while still being approachable, empathetic, and compassionate. When your child hit their lowest point this semester, it was most likely a proctor who provided comfort, gave advice, or simply lent an ear. I would like to thank Executive Director Elizabeth Roach and Deputy Director Joshua Dorenzo, whose experience, judgment, advice, and work ethic are invaluable. I want to thank you, the parents, friends, and family who have put your trust in us. I'm sure many of you were just as, if not more nervous than the Pages when you returned to your homes in January. I hope you feel that that trust was well invested. You have modeled the way for me personally as a parent through your restraint. I'm sure there were many times you had a hand on the phone or an email in your drafts folder that eventually went unsent. And by allowing the Pages to handle many obstacles on their own, we're confident that they have grown, and I hope that you see that growth when they return home with you today. The list goes on and on. Thank you to the cloakroom supervisors, Tiffany and Charlotte, our incredible instructors, to the Page Board, to the United States Capitol Police, to Ms. Sukup, to the Employee Assistance Program. Thank you to the sponsoring senators. Thank you, Senator Lee, for your steadfast support of the Page program. I continue to believe that this is a fantastic program for young people, and it only remains so by benefiting from a broad coalition of expertise, support, and care. But mostly, I want to thank you, the Fall 2024 Page class. There have been so many ways that you have annoyed me. Some more creative than others. But it is undeniable that you have been a blessing to our lives, and you have served the Senate well. The time has now come for you to pass the torch to the next group, and you can do so with the knowledge that you have carried it admirably. I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with each of you, and I wish you all the best in the years to come. Thank you.
Congratulations, everyone. You made it. I'm so proud to have served with all of you, and especially being with all of you has made my 5 months incredible. This marks the end of the Fall 2024 Page class closing ceremony. It's funny because while it might seem like the end, it marks the beginning of the rest of our lives. We are 28 distinct individuals with 28 distinct backgrounds and reasons for being here. Whether this program is something you've been working your entire life to get into, or you're here by pure chance, every single person went through a uniquely challenging experience, and in the end, you made it. These past 5 months have felt like a lifetime because I've seen a lifetime of change in all of you. We've all gone through so many experiences, and the question is, what are you going to do with this? We've entered the professional workforce at the age of 16. We've worked 60-hour weeks and witnessed our nation's democracy operate firsthand. Our growth has made us all better people. But at the end of the day, growth doesn't mean anything unless it is built upon. It is our responsibility now to continue this change within us, back home, and in our communities. As we all set out and continue to forge the paths that are the rest of our lives, know that this program is a stepping stone for all of us. Though it might seem like a point of divergence, it is a commonality in each of our paths that will not go unnoticed. There's a lot to take away from this program, but if there's one thing that I think you guys should all remember, it's this. The memories that you've made here, the lessons that you've learned here, and the relationships that you've forged here will last a lifetime if you let them. So let them. This now concludes our ceremony. I love you all, and I can't thank you enough for the experiences that you've given me over the past 5 months. Pages, feel free to go and greet your family.